Hello, this is Adam Lucente. Thanks for being here. Today I have yet another important voice from Iraq with me today, Dr. Ali al-Bayati, president of the Turkmen Rescue Foundation, and a member of the Iraqi Higher Human Rights Commission. Dr. al-Bayati, as you may have guessed, is a doctor and also a Turkmen activist and advocate for the Turkmen community in Iraq. Who are the Turkmen? They're descendants of Ottoman civil servants and soldiers and earlier Turkic people, pre-Ottoman, who settled in Iraq and now form one of Iraq's minority communities. Some are Sunni Muslims, others Shia Muslims, and they traditionally inhabit cities in the north, including Kirkuk, Tuz Khurmatu, and Tel Afar, and other cities as well. Turkmen have been an important community in many of the big stories coming out of Iraq as of late. Like Yazidis, Christians, and others, some of them were targeted by ISIS. And the Turkmen city of Tel Afar was one of the last cities liberated from ISIS by Iraqi forces. After Iraq retook Tuz Khurmatu and Kirkuk from the Kurdish region, many Turkmen rejoiced at this news. Today we're going to talk about their status in modern-day Iraq, following ISIS's defeat and following the Kurdistan independence referendum, and get Dr. al-Bayati's thoughts on this and more. So, Dr. Bayati, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much, Sir Adam, for your efforts in covering Iraqi news and exactly any Turkmen-associated news on the ground.
Yeah, my pleasure. We've spoken a few times, but despite me going to Kirkuk a few times, I have never met you. But hopefully we'll do that my next trip. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself and the Turkmen Rescue Foundation.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Ali al-Bayati. I am actually a doctor, and I were working in neurology specialty. Also, I started to work as activist, humanitarian activist, before 6 to 7 years. Because of our people suffering in Iraq, including Tuz Khurmatu, Kirkuk, Tel Afar, and other cities. Then we realized that we must form an NGO and work in institution-based work. And we formed a Turkmen Rescue Foundation, and we started to advocate for Turkmen because we are representing the third ethnicity in Iraq, and there is a lot of atrocities against Turkmen, which was in need to some active groups to work and advocate and defend locally and internationally. We started by Turkmen Rescue Foundation to document, to issue reports about what's going on the ground. We in a few years to be an important number in the Turkmen community and Iraqi field in general. We participated in many important international activities. And today, Turkmen Rescue Foundation, one of the dependable source for reports coming from Iraq regarding any related human rights issues or minority issues. At August 2017, I have been chosen by the parliament. The parliament voted for the Human Rights Commission in Iraq, which is the second board in Iraq, because previously there was a Ministry of Human Rights, but today there is an independent foundation called Human Rights Commission. So I was one of the members in this commission, and we are working, as well as I am today the official spokesman of the commission. And today, so I started to work for Turkmen, but today I am representing all Iraq, and I am the main speaker or the voice of this commission to defend all Iraqis, whether they are Arabs or Kurds or Turkmen or all minorities.
Cool. And where are you from?
I am from Tuz Khurmatu, which is districts, was previously part of Kirkuk, but during Saddam era, he made it part from Salahuddin province. And it is around 200 kilometers north of Baghdad. But today I am settled in Baghdad and working in Baghdad because issues related to my job and my activity.
Cool. So to get into it, what are the most important stories and happenings related to the Turkmen in Iraq right now?
Yeah, to start from Turkmen, Turkmen is the third ethnicity in Iraq, and we were living, of course, because today many changes have been done or happened in our lands. Actually, we were distributed from Tel Afar at the northwest of Iraq, passing through Erbil, Kirkuk, Tuz Khurmatu, and Salahuddin province, then coming to Karatapa, Mendili, Kazania in Diyala province, as well as we are living also in Baghdad and in Al-Qud province. Of course, over the last 14 years, there was continuous atrocities and targeting for Turkmen. This made Turkmen to displace internally and to be pushed backward to the south of Iraq. So today, Turkmen in general distributed in all Iraqi cities. We are living today, of course, as IDPs in Basra, in Karbala, in Najaf. We are representing, according to the official census data, around 3 million, because the old Ministry of Planning census data is talking about 7 to 10% of Iraqi population as a percentage of Turkmen. The issue of Turkmen atrocities and what was started since the establishment of new Iraq state at 20s, and they have been marginalized and not included as a basic Iraqi unit participating in the Iraqi in Iraq ruling or governing. So this continued to be, and there was also attacks against Turkmen from different governments ruling Iraq. There was many massacres against Turkmen in 20s and 50s and 70s. Then, by starting Ba'ath regime to rule Iraq, there was also marginalization. There was Arabization for Turkmen cities, including Kirkuk, for example. It was not allowable for Turkmen to get job in Kirkuk, to get house in Kirkuk, unless you change your ethnicity from Turkmen to Arab, and thousands of dunams of Turkmen lands have been detained by Saddam and distributed again and given to the Arab people in our lands. What happened in 2003? Of course, we had a hope that change will be done and the rights of Turkmen will be returned or regained. But unfortunately, the new Iraqi system, democratic system, surprisingly depended on the main three ethnicity or groups, including Arab Shia, Arab Sunni, and Kurds. Turkmen was not part of this equation, unfortunately, and they were giving the rights of Turkmen and all other minorities to which of one of them you are trying to work with them. I mean, whether you are working with Arab Shia or Arab Sunni or Kurds. So we were not part of this political equation after 2003, as well as since the establishment of the new constitution, our lands, including some parts of Nineveh province, Kirkuk, Tuz Khurmatu, and other lands for Turkmen, they put our lands as part of disputed territories, and the Iraqi government was unable to establish or to control such lands, and there was, of course, military control for such lands by KRG. Of course, it was in an agreement or deal between the Kurdish side and the authority of alliance at that time, during time of or era of Bolo Bremer at that time. It was unconstitutional. Of course, they had power, which was actually not institutional, but it was part of their parties, I mean Kurdish parties. And as a Turkmen, we didn't have any military groups, we didn't have any important role in the Iraqi army or Iraqi police. So what happened was attacking or targeting of Turkmen by terrorism over these 14 years by Al-Qaeda at first, then Daesh. Our lands have been inhabited by Qaeda at first, then Daesh, including in Tel Afar, including territories surrounding Tuz Khurmatu, as well as, of course, Kirkuk, as well as in Diyala also. This made the Turkmen to be displaced. Our lands, in our lands, the main important figures, I mean the academics, the doctors, businessmen, gradually started to disappear because of targeting, because of asking for any compensation money or so after kidnapping them. Then till we reached to, of course, over these 14 years, we lost around 10,000 civilians have been killed in Tel Afar and Tuz Khurmatu in Kirkuk. Then when Daesh controlled or invaded Iraq, of course, our lands had the main chance of this controlling. They started mainly by Turkmen lands because it is the weakest port. So we lost Tel Afar, we lost our lands in Nineveh Plain. Then we lost Bashir, and there was also attacks by chemical weapons against Tuz Khurmatu, which is again a Turkmen city. Amerli, which is a few kilometers to the south of Tuz Khurmatu, and it is a town, part of Tuz Khurmatu, have been besieged for 83 days by Daesh, and they were defending alone, depending on their own weapons, saving it in their houses. For 1 month, they defended alone without any aids from the government or any side. They were depending on their own savage for the foods, for the medical aids. And after 1 month, there was aids for them regarding weapons, regarding foods, regarding medical aids. And after 83 days, of course, there was movement from Iraqi side by Iraqi army and al-Shaabi, of course, to liberate Amerli city. After reaching of Iraqi government and Iraqi forces to this land, the Turkmen youth started to participate and involve in al-Shaabi. And today we have totally around 10,000 fighters as a Turkmen fighters in al-Shaabi. And believe me, most of them are relatives of the victims, either father or son or brother of the victims. We lost them over 14 years. They are defending our lands. They are protecting our lands. And even the liberation of Tel Afar, defending of Kirkuk, liberation of Bashir. Bashir also was one of the Turkmen village, which is to the southwest of Kirkuk. Bashir faced a lot of atrocities over 30 years during Saddam era and during even after 2003, and when Daesh started to attack Iraqi lands, Bashir also have been attacked. Around 20,000 of their people displaced. They kidnapped around 20 Turkmen women, raped them, and after these crimes, they burned them and they made them to be hung out over electricity lines. It is a very well known event in Bashir. All these lands have been actually liberated by Turkmen forces. Of course, it is supported by Iraqi army and other al-Shaabi and by alliance air attacks. And again, what happened in Kirkuk, what happened in Tuz Khurmatu before 1 month or less, of course, they were defending our lands. Today, most of the people protecting Tuz Khurmatu, not just Turkmen neighborhoods, even Kurdish neighborhoods, even the Kurdish houses to today protected by Turkmen al-Shaabi, because most of the Kurdish units fled and left their houses and their cities. And today the Turkmen fighters are protecting and defending our lands, whether they are Turkmen neighborhoods or other ethnicities neighborhoods. So I think today, although we lost a lot of victims over 14 years, but today we have good hope because we are part of the forces defending on the ground and fighting on the ground against terrorism and against all that all those forces that are trying to attack us illegally. We have good military forces on the ground. We hope for the future, for the future, our lands, for the democracy to be applied practically, because we didn't actually practice democracy over 14 years. I mean, in Kirkuk, in Tuz Khurmatu, we need a real democracy, a real power sharing, a real authority sharing in our lands, in our cities, in Diyala, in Tuz Khurmatu, in Kirkuk, in Nineveh. We want to live with all, whether they are Kurds, whether they are Arabs, but according to democratic basics and democratic administration. We want for the force protecting us and defending our lands to be under control of federal orders. We respect KRG and we respect their atrocities during Saddam era, but this is not an issue for them to attack the others, to take the rights of the others. We were living with Kurds before Saddam, before 2003, and we will to live with them, but according to power sharing, authority sharing, according to participation of all.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one question I get asked by Americans a lot that I think you would have some insights on is on ISIS. Do you think they are defeated for good in Iraq, or do you think a different form of ISIS will come back in the future?
I think ISIS, as they were declaring as a state, have been damaged and destroyed. But of course, there is many sleeping cells still present in our land, because we realize that 80 to 90% of ISIS fighters were from Iraqi people. So I think they were still present in Iraq, and the problem, I think, of ISIS or terrorism is in the mind, not in the hand of the fighters. So we must work not just by military operation. The Iraqi government and all Iraqi institutions need to work to change the mind of the people, to make them away from terrorist ideology. We must know what pushed them to be part of this ideology. We must know what they need to be to live peacefully, to realize that Iraq as a state is their only choice. So I think there is still a lot of cells can work in the future, can use bombing cars, blasts, attacking, assassination, and so on. It's important to also to institutionalize all Iraqi forces on the ground. All groups working on the ground should be institutionalized. I mean, the Iraqi forces should take the order from Baghdad, from federal units, and so on.
And are there any calls in the Turkmen community for an autonomous region of their own?
What, sir?
Are there any calls or demands in the Turkmen community to create an autonomous autonomous Turkmen region?
Actually, for Turkmen, before 16 October, of course, we were calling for Turkmen autonomy as a choice to protect ourselves. But today, as we are realizing that federal forces are present in our lands, the Kurdish forces are not still controlling our lands, and we hope for these federal forces to stay and protect and defend our people. I think the issue of autonomic region or autonomy is present in the Iraqi constitution. The formation of the region is present in the Iraqi constitution, and this right has been given to Kurdish people according to the Iraqi constitution, which we all voted on it. We supported it. But the problem that the rights have been given to KRG are much more what should be given. The international committee in general were dealing with two states in Iraq, with two governments, one in Erbil and one in Baghdad. We should realize that any region should be under control of federal Iraq, under control of Baghdad, under control of federal parliament. We should have one head to stabilize Iraq. If this right still will be given to Kurds and Arabs and other regions, of course, as a Turkmen, we need it to be given to us, but not in ethnic basis. We can't take it on democratic basis. We can't take it by pluralism. We can't create our autonomy. For example, in Nineveh, we can create our autonomy, our region, not for Turkmen alone. We can create it by other minorities. I mean, Yazidi people and Christian people. We can create our autonomy or our region in Kirkuk, for example, together with Kurdish and Arab people, as well as Christian. In Tuz Khurmatu, again, we can create another autonomy, or will be part of Kirkuk, or will be part of other Turkmen lands or mixed lands in Diyala. So we know that this right have been included in the constitution, and if it is given to others, the Turkmen also should have it, but not in ethnic basis. This is an important point.
Yeah.
It's important to take it on a liberal way or democratic way. Because our lands are mixed lands, we don't have any Turkmen alone. And I think it is the same for Kurdish lands. And you know that Erbil is not Kurdish. There is around 60% non-Kurdish people living there. Either they are Turkmen or Christian or others. But they took this right on ethnic basis. For this reason, they are going to be dissolving. Today, the power of KRG is not like before 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, because it depended on some titles which is against democracy on ethnic basis. When we are talking about Kurdistan, we are talking about single ethnicity. We respect this ethnicity, but we must realize that the Kurds alone, the Kurds are not the only ethnicity or the population living in this region. We must respect the Turkmen, we must respect the Christian, we must respect the Yazidi people and Arabs living there. So I think we must change the ideology on which the democracy is established in Iraq. Otherwise, we can take our rights according to the constitution. We can take our rights according to power and authority sharing.
Gotcha. And my last question is, you talked about the al-Shaabi, or in English we call them popular mobilization units. People who don't know, they're mostly Shia militias, but not exclusively. And so, about the sectarian issue, I wanted to ask you: how does the Sunni-Shia divide play out in the Turkmen community? Is it a big issue, or do you think it's not an issue in your community?
Yeah, of course, the Iraqi people in general, whether they are Arabs or Kurds or Turkmen, divided in general to Shia and Sunni. And it is the same issue out of Iraq even. Of
Right.
course, there is in some lands the majority for Shia, and in other cities the majority for Sunni. This is present for decades or for hundreds of decades, and it is not new. What happened that some parties try to charge this ideology to attract the people for their interest. Otherwise, the people were living together and they were not. Of course, the charging started during Saddam era when started to do religious campaigns, and I think it is enforced more after 2003. And with appearance of terrorism, of course, some of the communities were inhabitant for terrorism, and others was the victims. So today, of course, I agree that Turkmen divided into two sects, Shia and Sunni. But in general, I think as a Turkmen, we are the most powerful ethnicity that we still believing that we must protect ourselves by ethnicity more than the sects, because we believe and realize that the sect as a political issue, as administration or as authority will divide us. So in general, as a people, as political parties, we realize that we must work as a Turkmen, as a single ethnicity. Of course, we realize that we must work under the umbrella of single state as Iraq. But because today everything is divided or distributed according to certain title, I think it is important for us to work together, whether we are Turkmen Shia or Turkmen Sunni. And in general, most of our lands include both Shia and Sunni. There is no single city in which there is just Shia or just Sunni. We are living together. There is a lot of social bonds between us as a Turkmen. al-Shaabi, of course, started as a Shia majority, but together there is Sunni from all ethnicities. There is Turkmen Shia and al-Shaabi, and there is, of course, Turkmen Sunni. And I think today there is more attraction from the Turkmen Sunni to al-Shaabi, because they believe that they are the only choice for them to protect themselves. So we are believing and to work as ethnicity more than working as sects. We respect our sects, whether it is Shia or Sunni, and we know that these whether we are Shia or Sunni, we should get its benefits or interest to empower the Turkmen community. For example, as a Shia, I have good contact and good relation with Baghdad, with Najaf, with Iranian people, with any Shia country. We must work to attract and to get the benefit of this relation to empower Iraq, to empower our people, to empower Turkmen. For the other side, for example, Turkmen Sunni, if they have good relation with Sunni countries, I mean Turkey, Saudi, they should work to empower Iraq as a state. They should work to empower Turkmen as a single nation. So this is the points that we work on it.
Cool. Well, that was all I had. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Bayati.
Thanks for your friends.
Speak soon.